The spring statement is coming up. Although it's not usually as much of a showstopper as the full-blown budget, this time the pressure is on Rachel Reeves. There are worries about higher taxes and trade wars.
Our country's going to come back very, very strong. I think our country's going to come roaring back. The tariffs are a big deal.
Some experts have warned that the economic situation has worsened since the Chancellor delivered her autumn budget. The statement will contain the latest independent forecasts on how the UK economy is doing, and it could set the tone for the next 4 years of government spending. So where do things stand in the run-up? One way to weigh up how the UK economy is performing is to look at its GDP, or its gross domestic product. It totals everything that's produced, created and bought over a period of time. Quarterly figures covering 3 months at a time can show us a longer-term trend. Economists generally prefer to see GDP go up steadily. That's because it means people are spending more, extra jobs are created, and more tax is paid to the government. But it has been sluggish recently. The economy grew by just 0.1% between October and December 2024, according to the Office for National Statistics. And one international organisation, the OECD, has downgraded growth forecasts in the future for the UK, as well as the US, Canada and Mexico, because tariffs could dent progress made on boosting economies after COVID, as well as tackling what's known as inflation. In the UK, it's the Bank of England's job to keep inflation steady at a rate of 2%. But it said that higher wage bills and national insurance costs for firms could push prices for consumers up, as well as those tariffs being imposed by US President Donald Trump. While inflation isn't at the highs seen in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, prices are rising faster than the bank would like. The main inflation measure, CPI, stood at 3% in the year to January, rising at the fastest rate for 10 months and above the Bank of England's target of 2%. This leaves many households' finances more stretched at a time when some bosses have suggested they might cut jobs and raise prices because of those higher employment costs. From April, employers will pay national insurance of 15% on workers' earnings over £5,000. That's instead of 13.8% on salaries above £9,100 at the moment. Official figures suggest that this could be feeding through to the number of jobs on offer. The estimated number of job vacancies in the UK was down by 98,000 in the 3 months to February when compared with the same period a year before. Some bosses have said they're in wait-and-see mode to see how things pan out after the spring statement. Pressure has also increased on the Chancellor's tax and spending plans after official figures showed that the surplus in government finances, the difference between what it spends and the tax it takes in, stood at £15.4 billion in January. That was the highest level for the month since records began more than 3 decades ago. But it was much lower than what had been predicted by the OBR. It sparked speculation that Rachel Reeves will have to consider her options. Will she choose to cut public spending or raise taxes further in order to meet her self-imposed rules for the economy? We'll have to wait and see too.